on BYU, there's some. Listen, I know they're very moral people. Are they stealing though? Is there some drama afoot with BYU? Like the Holy War is done, and like we say every time we talk about this, the Holy War is actually never done.
I think it's incredibly funny, this nothing burger that came out from the Salt Lake City Tribune, and it is awesome. It got zero traction. Jason Badakow, I believe is how you pronounce the last name. I don't know, actually. Says, last spring, Caleb Lomu received a $1.5 million offer to transfer to BYU from Utah from a third-party intermediary. Here's a direct quote. They were basically saying, take it now. It's on the table for 24 hours. Jason says, but does tampering actually plague the BYU-Utah rivalry? Read here. So that's the tweet. If you then click on the link, by the way, that tweet got 299 likes, 98 retweets. You would think if BYU is trying to steal a Utah player for $1.5 million and it's a real, actual, tangible thing, folks would actually, be up in arms about this, and it would be national headlines and big news, and there'd be some sort of fine involved and report to the conference that Utah is being tampered with by the BYU Cougars. But instead, here's what this is, TJ. It's zero. It's zilch. It's nothing. It's something that no one should care about, and here's why. And here is why. Because guess what? Right now, somewhere in this country, there's a guy who is a strength and conditioning personal coach. And you know what he's doing? He says, I'm an alumni of Baylor University. My daughter plays high school softball. One day she's going to play college softball, maybe at Texas A&M, maybe at Texas. Oh, she says she wants to play at Houston. Great. I'm going to start DMing college softball athletes, offering them $1 million of my own personal money to go play at Houston so my daughter can win a national championship. TJ, can I ask you a question? Can you get back on the screen? Sorry, I'm summoning you here.
Look at you running the production too.
Producing. If that guy, the personal trainer who's got $1 million in the bank, wants to bring a girl in, play softball with his daughter, if that guy successfully does that, who gets fined? The answer is nobody, by the way. But who do you think? Who does the NCAA come down on?
Is it the kid?
No, nobody.
I was going to say, who could you
be nobody for? There's no check and balance here. Like the
NCAA is not even handling this anymore. It's like the College Sports Commission, right? By the way, which nobody even knows.
You can tomorrow direct message Bear Bachmeier, for example. I can direct message Bear Bachmeier and say, Bear, I'll give you $1.5 million to play at Utah next year. Take it or leave it. 24 hours on the table. And it's the exact same article that's being printed right now. Did I talk to Kalani Sitake about that? No. Did I talk to anybody at BYU? Did they tell me to do that? No. I just spat something out. Bear said no. And it's like, well, I did a good thing. I didn't have $1.5 million to give him anyway.
I was going to say, we need to have a conversation.
Yeah, no doubt. But that headline would be the exact same headline here. So I'm glad that, number one, no one cares about this. Because, look, if you do not think this is happening across the country, I have a beach house to sell you in Salt Lake City, Utah, and it's sitting on a lake that has no salt in it. There is something about where we sit in college football, and it is wrong, it is bad, but it's so odd that we say, like, so Crumble Cookies, you see their CEO paid for the fine for BYU rushing the field?
Rushing the field, yeah.
Pretty dope, right? That guy could just be like, hey, this Jordan Tyson's a really good wide receiver. I don't even care if BYU knows this. I'm just going to call Jordan Tyson's mom, give her $3 million. He's coming to BYU next year. And BYU can't do anything about that. The NCAA can't. The CSC can't. It's legal. You can do it whether you like it or not. And so that didn't happen, by the way, hypothetical. But that's where we sit here, is people are still complaining and female dogging over this stuff right now when it is what we deal with every day in college football. And I don't think Kalani Sitake had any idea that $1.5 million was ever thrown out there, if it even was.
What's interesting to me is people get upset about what happened and the way that you've described this and the way that you've kind of pointed out how it doesn't matter. I don't know that the NCAA is really getting after teams for even if they were involved. Now, I'm not trying to allude at all to BYU being involved. That is not my point. I don't think the NCAA is. Yeah, I mean, I guess we're hearing some recruiting violations that have taken place with Belichick and stuff. I think that's more about like contact. It's not necessarily like tampering because you need to have. Yeah, it's just a little different than what they're looking through. But even if it was BYU, which again, I'm not saying it was, don't get on me in the comments. That's happening everywhere. Like that is literally happening everywhere. And it's happening exactly the way that we're saying it because these coaches aren't dumb. Kalani Sitake is not out here DMing kids on active rosters. But not only is it happening from the school side, a representative of the school, the crumble cookie guy, right? It's also happening by these kids' agents where they're just floating it out there. These agents, and right or wrong, it is wrong. Right or wrong, these agents are floating out there like, hey, man, you see my guy having a pretty good year over here? You think he'd look good in orange and blue? You think he'd look good in garnet and gold? You think he'd look good with that gold helmet up in Notre Dame on him? What would your collective offer if he was going to do it? And so it's just the state of college football. And you can absolutely hate it because I absolutely hate it. I hate the idea of the way that we'd shuffle around the portal. I hate the highest bidder idea. I don't like any of that, right? But there's not a lot you can do about it because it's happening everywhere. Don't think that your program's any better because it ain't.
No, and look, this is, even if the schools aren't, like you said, if the schools are involved with this, there aren't enough checks and balances to not be involved.
There's no leadership and guidance.
If I'm the wide receiver coach, hell yeah, I'm calling my friend who's got quite a few $1 million in the bank and saying, hey, what do you think about this kid? He can really help us out. And from there, like the NCAA trying to prove that, especially if I use the right verbiage, the right whatever, is really tough. What I do think is so nuts about this, this just kind of comes into Jason posting this, what he posted it. This was put out at 11:14 Eastern time on the day of the Holy War. So this dude was sitting there at his computer like, this is it.
He was stewing. He was stewing after the loss, right?
Bomb of the century. I'm going to release this, and the Utah Utes are going to win the Holy War. This is going to take all the, somehow bring all the attention from the game to this. He's the Utes beat writer for the Salt Lake Trib, and I guess he believed that if somehow he wrote this story on the day of the Holy War, that it would give Utah enough, or BYU too much distraction, and Utah enough juice to go win. But it's nothing. It is the exact. I want to reiterate the point. It's the same thing as if I texted TJ Pittenger and said, TJ, you have 4 years of eligibility left. I'll give you $2 million to play for BYU. And the headline is BYU third party offers $2 million to steal away college football addiction host. Like that's the level that we're talking about in these conversations. And I don't think, so this goes back a bit to your point too. Do you think the SEC is playing ball? You think they're being real kind and sweet and doing things that are, NCAA sanctioned and trying to keep it all, real close to the vest and sweet like?
No, not at all. Yeah. None of their programs are, right? They're all doing this. We got about a minute and we'll get out of here, but just real high level thoughts on the Holy War. Oh, did we both get this right? We both predicted BYU, right?
We did both predict BYU. Mine was 24. People kept telling me like, oh, you're so smart. You're a genius. And I was like, no, don't say all that. That's crazy. And then I said 24-21 and the final score was, I said 23-19 and the final score was 24-21. So I don't know.
I can't remember what I had, but it wasn't that good.
Maybe folks be listening to Locked On Big 12 and College Football Addiction. I don't know. But I thought it was awesome, man. Great experience to be out there. It's one of the best rivalries in college football. I don't think that this should be a black spot on Utah either. They didn't do anything. This is just like the Tribune Herald thing or whatever it is. So I don't think Utah even cared about this. Credit to Utah for not making a big deal out of it. They were like, just dude, shut up. Let's play the game, and they did. It was a great game.
Yeah, a lot of fun. BYU controls their own destiny at this point. Yeah. We were high on BYU in the offseason, and then we had the big questions once their quarterback was no longer there. And, massive credit to them because obviously that Texas Tech game is going to get a lot of attention. And then, they need to hold serve the rest of the year. But they've answered the call every time. And so we'll see if they can continue to do that. You got to get lucky sometimes, and they have at certain points, but man, they've been impressive so far. And doing it with Bachmeier there, I was talking with some buddies just literally right before we jumped on about the way that he's played as a true freshman, and it's been pretty impressive to watch. So, Drake, where can people follow you? Where can they find your work?
At Locked On Big 12, wherever you find your podcasts, as well as YouTube. And if you really, really like bad tweets, at Drake C. Toll.
Do me a favor and hit the subscribe button wherever you watch this. We don't ask that a ton on here, but we would certainly appreciate it. We appreciate you always tuning in. Drake, thanks for hanging out.
Always fun, TJ.
Thanks, buddy.